Observational learning. Observational learning is a learning that occurs through observing the behavior of others. It is a form of social learning which takes various forms based on various processes. Canadian psychologist Albert Bandura is the researcher perhaps most often identified with learning through observation. He and other researchers have demonstrated that we are naturally inclined to engage in observational learning. He was also known for his experiment called Bobo doll experiment, which consisted in young children that would imitate the violent and the aggressive actions of an adult model just by seeing it. Haven't you learned how to do something without ever being taught before? Well, most likely you have. But have you ever wondered why? The answer is quite simple. You might have been experiencing observational learning. But how does observational learning occur? Well, it's based on one person observing another person's behavior and trying to imitate it. By doing this person will learn how to do something without being taught previously. These people being observed receive the name of models. But who can be a model? The answer is anyone. Anyone can be a model, even cartoons. Therefore, not all of them are necessarily good models. An example of bad models could be a child who sees someone stealing in the street. The child would see that the thief would buy anything he wanted after stealing, and he might think that by doing the same, he would also be able to buy whatever he wanted. But it isn't as simple as it seems. Observational learning could not occur unless cognitive processes were at work. For that reason, individuals do not automatically observe the behavior of a model and imitate it. There is some thought prior to imitation, and this consideration is called mediational processes, which is divided into four. The first one would be attention. We observe many behaviors on a daily basis, and many of these are not noteworthy. Attention is extremely important in whether a behavior has an influence in others imitating it or not. The second one is retention. This means how well the behavior is remembered. The behavior may be noticed, but it is not always remembered, which obviously prevents imitation. Therefore, it is important that a memory of a behavior is formed to be performed later by the observer. In other words, there needs to be a memory to refer to. The third one will be reproduction. In this process, we must take into account our physical and mental capacities to imitate a behavior. For you to reproduce a behavior, you must be able to do it. For example, you might have seen on TV a famous football player and you wish to imitate him, but maybe you are too ill to tackle someone or to jump and catch a ball, therefore making it impossible to imitate. And the last one is motivation. Observers must be motivated to imitate a behavior. They need a reason for them to want to reproduce someone else's behaviors. And this depends on what had happened to the model. If the observer saw its model receive a reward because of its behavior, the observer will most likely try to copy him, expecting to receive the same reward. This is known as vicarious reinforcement. On the other hand, if the observer sees the model being punished, he will be less motivated to copy it. This is called vicarious punishment. Albert Bandura claims that the observer could learn both positive and negative behaviors through observational learning. Now that you know what observational learning is, you'll be able to identify what things you have learned just by observing.
Created using Powtoon.